Good afternoon, everybody. So I just want to thank Andrea and everybody who's behind this. I think this is really important work because this is the work that is going to continue to move the needle in terms of getting Africa to be what it is, which is the first frontier. And really congratulate also the startups. I think you guys are really brilliant and keep going. I had prepared a much longer speech, but I was told by Andrea that I'm only allowed 7 minutes. I'm speaking from an asset manager's hat. I allocate capital. I've managed billions, 800 billion recently at a local firm here called Generali. So a few weeks ago, I sat across a table of CIOs with the biggest asset managers in the world, and somebody said something that stuck with me. He said, America innovates, Asia imitates, and Europe regulates. And everybody in the room nodded, and I sat there thinking, where is Africa in this equation? A continent of 1.4 billion people, the youngest on the earth, 19-year average, still treated as a footnote, still seen through the lens of aid, instability, and extraction instead of opportunity, innovation, and returns. Because one of the greatest investment mispricings of our generation is actually happening in prey side, and that mispricing is Africa. For 100 years, the world has called Africa the last frontier. You know, the one that you invest in where there's no risk. But I'd like to retire that phrase tonight. A mispriced asset is never the last frontier, it's the first. Africa is not the last frontier, it's the first. By 2050, Africa will account for more than 40% of the labor force growth. And at the moment, Europe and Asia will be running out of the workforce. You know, imagine that, 1 in 4. If you're looking for a frontier, you're looking at it as Africa. You know, it's not behind everyone else, it's ahead. And the biggest lie that was ever told about Africa is that Africa's poor. Africa's not poor, it's just unmonetized. You don't cross oceans to go and colonize a poor land, right? World's largest resources, 60% of arable land, and yet we import most of its food, 60% of the world's forests and solar, and yet we are not monetizing it. We're paid $3 a ton for carbon that sells for 200 euros in Europe. Add it all up. Natural capital that is worth around $1 trillion, 2.5 times Africa's measures GDP. So Africa's not poor, you know, Africa's just not priced right. So where the crowd sees a gap, you know, the first mover sees the opportunity, but the layer that decides everything is its people. You know, by 2050, 1 in 4 humans is going to be African. The largest pool of young, mobile native, AI-ready brain power the world has ever assembled. And that power compounds into everything, companies, industries, and returns. And this is already happening. You know, this is the continent that skipped the landline and built M-Pesa, you know, the biggest mobile money on earth. Africa doesn't imitate, Africa leapfrogs. And here's the part the room cares about. The returns are already being made. Stripe bought Nigeria's pay stack for more than $200. Tunisia's an AI company in Tunisia sold to BioNTech recently for around $680 million. Africa's largest tech exit with its earliest backers who earned more than 10 times their money. Now Africa, has 9 tech unicorns, 9. Moneycoin, Wave. A decade ago, the whole continent raised $200 million a year. The past peak, more than 20 times that. The founders who define the next decade in the market, the founders who will define the next decade in the market are going to be coming from Africa. You back them now, and you will not be taking a risk on Africa, but you will be early to the investment opportunity. But as they say, size alone means nothing. Africa having the youngest population, the youngest population on earth, it means nothing. Where are these kids going to live? What are they going to work on? What are they going to eat? How will they get energy? Africa must create 15 million jobs a year. Today, it creates only 3 million. And the capital to change that actually already exists in Africa. More than $2 trillion sits in African pension funds, insurance companies, mostly parked in government bonds and cash, while the funders who can change everything go unfunded. That's the tragedy of Africa. It's not that it's poor. It's just that it's got money that's not being given the courage to build. And the real question is, and it's the only question, whose future is getting funded here? And the rating agencies, they rate Africa as high risk. Therefore, it ends up being priced high risk. A self-fulfilling prophecy. We have to move it out of the too hard to price into the must invest bucket. So we need to start pricing Africa fairly, not lazily, which is why this room matters tonight. 6 funders pitched their futures to you. Treat Africa as the last frontier, and you will arrive late and pay the most. Treat it as the first frontier and move now while the asymmetry is still there, and then you win. This is not aid. It's the single biggest arbitrage of our generation, the youngest growth on earth, meeting patient capital before the rest of the market actually wakes up. So let me go back to where I began. America innovates, Asia imitates, Europe regulates. And Africa builds. The workforce, the wealth, Africa's building the century itself. Africa is not in the footnote to that equation. Africa is the answer to that equation. Demographics are not destiny. Preparation is destiny. Let me end with a line that I live by. I live by this. I refuse to tiptoe through life just to arrive safely at death. I would rather charge forward, embrace the chaos, skid into the final curtains with stories to tell, not dreams and unfulfilled potential. Don't tiptoe towards Africa. Don't wait for it to be safe or proven or last. Go first, build boldly, and fund the future while it is still a frontier. Thank you. Thank you.